Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Lads on the Trails. Today we're in a place called Pendlebury, which is in Swinton, Salford. And what we're going to do is doing a little bit of exploring today in regards to the Clifton Hall Colliery. There is quite a bit of a story in regards to that. And we're starting here at St Austina's Cemetery, I think it's called. And yeah, the story will begin here. Clifton Hall Colliery was one of two coal mines in Clifton. The other was a Wet Earth Colliery on the Manchester Coalfield, historically in Lancashire, which was incorporated into the City of Salford in Greater Manchester in 1974. The colliery was owned by Andrew Knowles and Sons, and it was located in Irwell Valley, just off Lum's Lane, which is another area a bit further back from here, which we'll see later. It had an extensive railway network sidings on the London and North Western Railway Clifton branch, which, if you haven't seen our video before, would be the Clifton Junction one. So head over to our YouTube and just have a look there and you'll see that video as well. It was actually connected to the Manchester, Bolton and Bury Canal by quarter-mile long tramway, and we'll see that shortly as well. That may be in this video or in another video, but I'll put something in anyway with regards to that as well. It is thought that the colliery was operating by the 1820s, and its tramway is shown on a parliamentary plan from 1930 and the 1985 map. And what I'll do is I'll get a map up of that. You might be wondering why we're in a graveyard. The reason for that is that there was actually a disaster, and that's one reason why we come here, because this church plays a big part in that, in regards to how many people are actually buried here. According to some reports, in 1869, the miners complained about the safety conditions underground, but Andrew Knowles and Sons refused to concede and a strike began. After some weeks, miners were brought in from the Black Country to break the strike. Now, when they were brought in, people who also did the mining here lost their homes, if you like, because the people who they brought in from the Black Country were housed in it. The actual incoming miners were known by people as the Scabs. By the time of 1885 and the disaster, all the men killed had local addresses and were identified by people who had also got local addresses. The colliery had two shafts, only 10 yards apart. There was the downcast shaft, which was for access and coal extraction, and the upcast shaft was provided with ropes and pulleys for use if the downcast was blocked. The shafts passed through 4 shallow mines, and they were not worked in 1885, but reaching the down, 5 quarters and trench-bore mines. The trench bore was worked with candles. Prior to the shaft, prior to the day shift, the firemen tested and marked up those areas free of gas, obviously to let them know that there were no gases or anything like that. The men were allowed then to proceed to their various workplaces by using the safety lamps. The firemen made another round. Once candles had been lit, men were allowed to smoke. Officially, no pipe or tobaccos were meant to be present when naked lights were, in existence. But in practice, the men had in the pockets, the tobacco, the pipes and matches and stuff like that. Safety lamps were provided by the company but had to be paid for by the men. The men also had to pay for candles and lamp oil. There were 3 types of lamps which they used, which were the Dabby, Clanny and Bainbridge. Yes, I'll get my words out. The certificate manager, Jonathan Hall, only had experience of the Dabby and the Clanny, but admitted he was aware of a safer and brighter lamps. So yeah, an explosion happened at the mine at 9:20 on Thursday the 18th of June 1885. A total of 172, if I remember right, people died. We're currently at one of the graves here, and that is actually like a family which have been taken out. You've got William Henry, son of Samuel Martha Edwards. He was aged 20. Then you've got John Edwards, husband of Susanna Edwards. He was aged 29. Then you've got Thomas Edwards, the husband of Mary Edwards. He was 27. And then you've got someone called John Mellins, and he was aged 16 when he died. Now, when the explosion happened, there used to be something called a ring bell, and that's what they were all waiting to hear. Obviously, the ring bell didn't sound. When the explosion happened, it was meant to have been felt for, I think, over a half a mile. And obviously, it was caused by the candle lights and gas which had escaped into the shaft. So obviously, after the explosion, they didn't hear the bell ring or anything like that. It is reported as well that some of the survivors, what they did was travel, I think it was like nearly half a mile down to the other colliery down at Hagecroft, and they appeared there. Obviously, they managed to get the shafts, like buckets basically, for people to go down, and then they managed to get the shafts lifts working, and people were brought up from that. And yeah, like I said, there was 172, if I remember right. 178 men and boys who were actually killed. Yeah, we found a few of them, like I say, here at the cemetery, and that's what we thought we'd come and show you today. We are going to see whether we can find the original site. There's meant to be a memorial there. I don't think there is anything else to it. But also in this area, there was another disaster a number of years later, which is called the Clifton Hall Tunnel, which we'll try and explore in this video as well. What I'll try and do is get some pictures and everything up off the old mines, even if we can get any of the workers or anything like that as well. But yeah, it would be 139 years next month that this explosion actually happened there.